Chapter 9 of the White Linen Nurse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The White Linen Nurse by Eleanor Hallowell Abbott. Chapter 9. Altogether jerkily, the senior surgeon started up the walk for his own perfectly formal and respectable brownstone mansion. Deep down in his lurching heart he felt a sudden most inordinate desire to reach that brownstone mansion just as quickly as possible. But abruptly, even to himself, he swerved off instead at the yellow sassafras tree, and plunged quite wildly through a mass of broken sods towards the rickety, no-account cedar summer-house. Startled by the crackle and thud of his approach, the two young figures in the summer-house jumped precipitously to their feet, and limply untwining their arms from each other's necks, stood surveying the senior surgeon in unspeakable consternation. The white linen nurse and a blue-overalled lad most unconscionably mated in radiant youth and agonized confusion. "Oh, my lord, sir!" gasped the white linen nurse. "Oh, my lord, sir! I wasn't looking for you for another week." "Evidently not," said the senior surgeon incisively. "This is the second time this evening that I have been led to infer that my home-coming was distinctly inopportune." Very slowly, very methodically, he put down first his precious rod-case and then his grip. His brain seemed fairly foaming with blood and confusion. Along the swelling veins of his arms a dozen primitive instincts went surging to his fists. Then quite brazenly before his eyes the white linen nurse reached out and took the lad's hand again. "Oh, forgive me, Dr. Faber," she faltered. "This is my brother." "Your brother? What? Eh?" choked the senior surgeon. Bluntly he reached out and crushed the young fellow's fingers in his own. "Glad to see you, son," he muttered with a sickish sort of grin, and, turning abruptly, picked up his baggage and started for the big house. Half a step behind him, his white linen nurse followed softly. At the edge of the piazza he turned for an instant and eyed her a bit quizzically. With her big, credulous blue eyes, and her great mop of yellow hair braided childishly down her back, she looked inestimably more juvenile and innocent than his own little shrewd-faced 6-year-old whom he had just left domestically ensconced in the middle of the broad gravel path. "For heaven's sake, Miss McGregor," he asked, "for heaven's sake, why didn't you tell me that the wallpaper man was your brother?" Very contritely the white linen nurse's chin went burrowing down into the soft collar of her dress, and as bashfully as a child one finger came stealing up to the edge of her red lips. "I was afraid you'd think I was cheeky, having any of my family come and live with us so soon," she murmured, almost inaudibly. "Well, what did you think I'd think you were if he wasn't your brother?" asked the senior surgeon sardonically. "Very economical, I hoped," beamed the white linen nurse. "All the same," snapped the senior surgeon, with an irrelevance surprising even to himself, "all the same, do you think it sounds quite right and proper for a child to call her stepmother Peach?" Again the white linen nurse's chin went burrowing down into the soft collar of her dress. "I don't suppose it is usual," she admitted reluctantly. "The children next door, I notice, call theirs Crosspatch." With a gesture of impatience, the senior surgeon proceeded up the steps, yanked open the old-fashioned shuttered door, and burst quite breathlessly and unprepared upon his most amazingly reconstructed house. All in one single second chintzes, muslins, pale blonde maples, riotous canary birds, stormed revolutionary upon his outraged eyes. Reeling back, utterly aghast before the sight, he stood there staring dumbly for an instant at what he considered, and rightly too, the absolute wreck of his black walnut home. "It looks like hell," he muttered feebly. "Yes, isn't it sweet?" conceded the white linen nurse with unmistakable joyousness. "And your library!" Triumphantly she threw back the door to his grim workshop. "Good God!" stammered the senior surgeon. "You've made it pink!" Rapturously the white linen nurse began to clasp and unclasp her hands. "I knew you'd love it," she said. Half dazed with bewilderment, the senior surgeon started to brush an imaginary haze from his eyes, but paused midway in the gesture and pointed back instead to a dapper little hall table that seemed to be exhausting its entire blonde strength in holding up a slender green vase with a single pink rose in it. Like a caged animal buffeting for escape against each successive bar that encased it, the man's frenzied irritation hurled itself hopefully against this one more chance for explosive exit. "What have you done with the big black escritoire that stood there?" he demanded accusingly. "Escritoire? Escritoire?" worried the white linen nurse. Why, I'm afraid I must have mislaid it." "Mislaid it?" thundered the senior surgeon. "Mislaid it? It weighed 300 pounds!" "Oh, it did?" questioned the white linen nurse with great blue-eyed interest. Still mulling apparently over the fascinating weight of the escritoire, she climbed up suddenly into a chair and with the fluffy broom-shaped end of her extraordinarily long braid of hair went angling wildly off into space after an elusive cobweb. Faster and faster the senior surgeon's temper began to search for a new point of exit. "What do you suppose the servants think of you?" he stormed. "Running around like that with your hair in a pigtail like a kid." "Servants?" cooed the white linen nurse. "Servants?" Very quietly she jumped down from the chair and came and stood looking up into the senior surgeon's hectic face. "Why, there aren't any servants," she explained patiently. "I've dismissed every one of them. We are doing our own work now." "Doing our own work?" gasped the senior surgeon. Quite worriedly the white linen nurse stepped back a little. "Why, wasn't that right?" she pleaded. "Wasn't it right? Why, I thought people always did their own work when they were first married." With sudden apprehensiveness she glanced round over her shoulder at the hall clock, and darting out through a side door returned almost instantly with a fierce-looking knife. "I'm so late now and everything," she confided. "Could you peel the potatoes for me?" "No, I couldn't," said the senior surgeon shortly. Equally shortly he turned on his heel and, reaching out once more for his rod case and grip, went on up the stairs to his own room. One of the pleasantest things about arriving home very late in the afternoon is the excuse it gives you for loafing in your own room while other people are getting supper. No existent domestic sound in the whole 24 hours is as soothing at the end of a long journey as the sound of other people getting supper. Stretched out full length in a big easy chair by his bedroom window, with his favorite pipe bubbling rhythmically between his gleaming white teeth, the senior surgeon studied his new solid gold bed, and his new sage green wall-paper, and his new dust-colored rug, to the faint far-away accompaniment of soft thudding feet, and a girl's laugh, and a child's prattle, and the tink-tink-tinkle of glass, china, silver, all scurrying consciously to the service of one man, and that man himself. Very, very slowly, in that special half-hour, an inscrutable little smile printed itself experimentally across the right-hand corner of the senior